talk some football, of course, part of Cards Wire at USA Today. All right, one of the big stories, Howard, that's kind of crawling all over the internet is Pro Football Network saying Kyler Murray, one of the most overrated players in the NFL, and he is for the Cardinals at least. They have him as the one overrated player. Do you see why some may say that, or do you think there's no case for that?
Well, I guess I don't know if overrated is the right word, because where do people rate him? I mean, I've seen a lot of ratings from anywhere from top 10 to top 15. So is that overrated? Yeah. I wouldn't call that overrated. I saw one story that says he's overrated because he hasn't, been healthy, which obviously is a fact and is a big part of it. But does that mean you're overrated in terms of your ability? I don't know. One thing I think, guys, at this time of the year, I think some of these websites that cover the NFL should probably just go dark for a month.
Take vacations,
because
right?
all they do is come up with these crazy lists, this top 10 and that one and this one and that one, and people, just throw out their opinions, and they're entitled to their opinion. But I think what Kyler Murray has shown, obviously, when he has been healthy and when he has had solid talent around him, he's shown himself to be a very good quarterback. So I don't know what overrated means, though, because I don't see anybody calling him one of the best in the NFL. So I think what people are saying about him, for the most part, are in the ballpark and are accurate. But everyone has to tie certain words to it. Who's the most overrated? Who's the most underrated? Who's the rising candidate? I mean, heck, NFL.com had a story a couple weeks ago that said he's a dark horse for MVP. So, everybody's got their opinion, and it's just all out there, and it makes us all talk about it, which we probably shouldn't very much.
So could you make a case that you could say, rephrase and say, in the last 3 years, Kyler Murray's been the most, it's been the biggest disappointment for the Cardinals? Biggest disappointment.
Well, yeah, he has been, it has been disappointing, but the whole team has been disappointing. And that's really, I always look at it that way in terms of the whole team. I mean, there's not that many quarterbacks that play really good football when the team around them isn't very good for whatever reason, whether it's talent, whether it's injuries, whatever it might be. And yeah, there's no doubt that, I mean, I don't even know how you can rate last year in terms of disappointing, because no one knew what the heck to expect. And I would argue that last year wasn't disappointing at all, that he showed everybody that, hey, he can play with this system, and it injects some hope for this year. Obviously, the previous season was very disappointing for the whole team, and it's all not just on the quarterback. But I realize that everybody always has to usually points the finger at the quarterback, and that's just the way it is. That's the way it is. But I've always thought that was somewhat unfair. And so the whole team, obviously, you win 8 games in the last 2 seasons. That's incredibly disappointing for the entire franchise and the entire team.
So how much of a make or break year is this for Kyler Murray this year then, Howard?
I think it is a key year. I think he has to continue showing what he did at the end of last season. Some pieces obviously have been added, to the offense with the selection of Marvin Harrison Jr. Certainly you sit there and you go, yeah, you just hope that he can contribute in his rookie year like he's capable of. And so it is important. I think it is important for him to pick up where he left off and to continue to improve, from that. And the football they played at the end of the season without a Marvin Harrison Jr. was, I think pretty darn, I'm not going to overstate it, but I think was pretty good. And so now he has to move, show continued growth from there, whether it's make or break. I mean, who's to say? But yeah, I do think it is a key season for him and this team to show the improvement that many think they're capable of.
And don't you think, too, Howard, watching everything on paper, this team on paper, that he doesn't have to be the hero every game. He can go ahead and hand it off and pass it off. And he can, not that he's going to gear down a little bit, but he can be, more guys can be more accountable around him. He doesn't have to be that world beater every single play.
No, it's a great point. And I think that, he really likes this offense and the fact that they are committed to run the football. and all that. And they have James Conner and, added a solid guy behind him in the draft and in Trey Benson. And, another thing about the last part of last year, maybe one of the best things that happened to the Cardinals last year was Zach Ertz getting hurt, because that created the opportunity for Trey McBride to have a tremendous impact on this team in the second half of the season. And now you couple him with Harrison and Michael Wilson and, and Greg Dortz and those guys. And there's some real, some real hope there. And I think you're exactly right. He doesn't have to do it all. Obviously, he touches, the quarterback's a guy who touches the ball on every play. And he has the ability to throw. He has the ability to run. But the team has the ability to run it also and have, good balance in the offense. So that's going to be the thing that's, so interesting to watch in a season where, they've got a lot of tough teams, obviously, on the schedule.
Is the offense pretty well set? Are you comfortable with the way the offense is built? And is it the defense that still needs a lot of work?
You can always get better, but I do like what this team looks like on the field on offense. Certainly a lot depends on, who's going to be the left guard and how consistent and stable the offensive line is, which was a big part of last year, looking, better than some people thought because they had a lot of stability on the offensive line. So, yeah, I think they are where they are right now. Defense, there is a lot to prove there. They've added young players in the draft. They have two guys coming back who last year got off to slow starts that were drafted high because of injuries with B.J. Ojolari and Garrett Williams, and I think those are key guys for this season. You look at what they've added in free agency on the defensive line and at linebacker with a guy like Mac Wilson. Maybe the big question right now is at cornerback, where there's a lot of young guys there, and that's going to be a key for how this defense plays. But with some of the guys that they've added, like I said, on the line and a linebacker, this defense should be better. And the other thing, guys, though, is guess what? When you're playing consistent offense and your offense is moving the ball, getting first downs and gaining yards, scoring points, that's good for the defense because it keeps them off the field and doesn't put them out there in challenging situations a lot of times. So I think the way this team looks, on both sides of the ball, that should get them improved enough to at least, be no worse than a 500 team.
Okay, so we're less than 2 weeks away from the opening of training camp. You say all that, you throw that in the blender. So does Jonathan Gannon have a particular game plan for this training camp?
Well, yeah, I think the game plan is just, to take everything that they believe they've accomplished in the off season. And he's talked about it, saying, how I think we've gotten better, I believe. We've gotten smarter. And I like the direction this team is going in. Of course, that's all done not in pads. Now you got to get out there in pads and get it done and just continue to improve on a daily basis. And that's his plan. I mean, that's what he preaches day after day. The one thing about Gannon is that his message does not change on a daily basis. It's all about getting better every day and working at that. He likes the makeup of his team with the way they work and with the way they compete and that they're team first guys. And I think that, he's very positive about that. Now those guys got to go out there in the field and show they can do it when the season starts on a consistent basis.
Howard Balzer is our guest on the Wright Toyota guest line. All right, Howard. So now with just a couple of weeks, what are guys doing right now? Are they working out on their own to try to be totally ready when camp begins? Or do they still kind of do downtime so that they're totally relaxed when camp begins?
Well, I don't know, totally relaxed. I mean, there's always going to be some downtime, but from everything I've seen and heard, no one stops working out. We talked to Dennis Gardeck yesterday, and he talked about he works at another facility in town, but other players are there. They're doing their daily workouts. They realize how important it is. You can't relax too much in this downtime because, you hit the ground running when camp starts, and you better not be in that, in that place where all of a sudden you need a certain amount of time just to catch up. So I do believe that, and we've talked to, one or two guys every week, except for the holiday week, during the season. And, some of them are there working out in the facility. Some are working out somewhere else. And so, they have that, they certainly look to have that work ethic. that they know that even though this is downtime to a degree, that you still have to keep working at your craft and still keep working to get in shape. And I know Kyler Murray's gotten together with some guys still, throwing the ball, during this time. And so, that's it's the one thing that I think we all gathered that cover the team. There's just a certain vibe about the way they work and the way they go at it. And this is a team that certainly looks like a team that obviously cares about the team, cares about each other, and wants to do everything they can, to turn this thing around and get it to be a winning organization.
Thank you as always, Howard. Have a good week. Thanks for the time.
All right, guys. Take care.
That's Howard Balzer. You can check him out. USA Today, as he's part of the Cards Wire, and always at HBalzer 721. As he's brought to you today by Twin Peaks, and we're finishing up here at the Tempe location. Next week, the 15th through the 18th, it's Bikini Week costume party at all 5 Valley Twin Peaks locations, as they'll have specials all week, including their 29-degree drafts to keep you cool. They got the refreshing cocktails, cheap shots. So bring the crew and beat the heat here at Twin Peaks. Kind of interesting watching the Phillies and Dodgers on. We all love the Dodgers, right? And Ohtani was up with bases loaded with 1 out, and Nola struck him out. He has not had success at Citizens Bank there, as the Phillies are up 2-0 in the bottom of the second.
I missed who went yard, but I saw it. But as he was rounding the bases for the Phillies, it was a shot to right field.
So they're up 2-0.
2-0.
Phillies. More Rock and Minuch continues here on Fox Sports.